Good morning. We're going to call the Wright County Board meeting of December 12th, 2017 to order, and we'll begin this morning with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all, and good morning again. The minutes from November 28th. Has anyone had a chance to read them and go over them?
No. Chair, I'll move the minutes from last week.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Potter. Further discussion. Lee, did you have any changes there?
No changes. Just to clarify, are we doing the two sets of minutes separately, I presume, and this motion will be for the AM meeting?
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which way?
Separately.
Separately.
We'll do it separately.
Very good.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for the EP.
Oh, we haven't voted yet.
Oh, you haven't voted yet, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm rushing things.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And go ahead, Derek.
And I'll make a motion to adopt the PM minutes from November 27th.
I'll second.
28th, I'm sorry.
28th, yeah.
28th.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Delyden for the PM meeting on the same date. Any changes? Nothing there? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review and approve the agenda for today. We did have, as far as the landfill, the request for the change, I don't know if
Yes,
that's...
that will stay on the agenda, and we'll address it as a time
Okay,
item.
all right. So, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The consent agenda for today.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Make the right initial here. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That brings us down to our timed items, 9:02. Wright County Auditor Treasurer. Oh, our treasurer is out, and we're graced with Tammy. How you doing, Tammy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Real good.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So the first thing on our list is to reestablish and correct drainage system records for Wright County Ditch 31. And I do have Matt here to discuss and go over what is going to happen with that.
You don't want to? Bob used to do it all. We have Matt now.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members
morning,
of the board. I just thought I'd start by, since I'm still relatively new, introducing myself. I'm Matt Detchen, the new Agricultural and Drainage Coordinator. And I'm here because asking you to accept a bid submitted to us by Houston Engineering for the reestablishment of records on County Ditch 31. And I just wanted to let you know that they did include some work that we did near Ruckles Lake in this bid's proposal. So that did lower the cost for this. And this bid is for the tune of $22,000.
So we have no records for ditch 31?
No records on 31, that's correct.
I sure wish somebody would find all those records.
They've got to be
Townships or somewhere.
They have to be together somewhere. I still say that.
Or separately in township.
Yeah, or somewhere.
But then somebody would have turned up with one of them somewhere.
Yeah, and I did go down to the dungeon and do
When
some
you
looking.
want your raise.
Mr. Chair, Matt, the benefit rolls are current though with 31?
Well,
No, not on 31.
they're very obsolete.
Okay, so that's next
It would be
stage
the next
after-
thing would be the redetermination.
Yep, and we would do
We're doing them
those,
separately then, one and then the other?
because I believe they're both from 1917, if I'm correct. So.
1917.
I like your idea of tying his raise into finding all those old ditch records. I'll make a motion to approve the redetermination, or proceeding to reestablish a correct drainage system for Wright County Ditch 31. Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Potter. And did that include the provision for Matt?
We're going to keep that off the record.
We'll keep that.
We'll talk to his boss about it.
Okay. Discussion on this. I said it is upsetting that we can't find our records. I don't know, but this is what you have to do when we're faced with that, so. And, anyway, and then they said they did do some other work before on this too, so.
Yeah, they did about a mile's worth of survey near Ruckles Lake, and so that was included a significant.
Well, then that will save the cost though, down the roads.
Yeah, and they're familiar with our records anyway, makes it a lot simpler process for them.
Okay.
Did
Sounds
we-
good. Oh, go ahead.
Just quick question. Did we get two prices at all? Or did we just go? with one?
No, we did not on this.
Okay. I would like to see additional,
Additional bids in the future?
In the
Okay.
future, maybe. Yeah.
we should really be comparing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, are we deferring the cost of this till the benefit rules are redetermined on this one, or this one we're gonna?
Yeah, we're going to defer it, so we have ordered the redetermination of benefits.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Resolution, Mr. Chair.
Oh, it's a resolution. Okay, Mark, could you start it off?
Aye.
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 Aye. Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you, Matt.
All right, next, we are asking to approve some 2017 budget amendments for personnel additions and IT adjustments. This proposed adjustment includes the allocation of wages and benefits due to additional staff having been added in the last quarter of the year, including the ditch coordinator, 2 deputies, a project portfolio analyst, and an IT developer. There's also another sheet on a budget adjustment being requested to move budget from temporary wages to professional services within the IT department. Instead of hiring temporary staff during 2017, the department had outsourced a project manager.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment for personnel additions and IT adjustments.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Next up, Tammy.
All right, my last item is to approve a transfer of tobacco license for 2018 to ARF Enterprises LLC, doing business as Riverview Liquorette, formerly Shag Bark Inc., doing business as Riverview Liquorette in the city of Otsego. So it's a transfer from one to the other.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the tobacco license.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter. We'll give that one to Commissioner Delighten on the second.
Good.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank
Tammy,
you.
you did great. Come anytime. All right, Wright County Area Transit 910. I think we're close enough there.
All right.
Derek, did you want to kind of
Yep.
start this off? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, board members, after many months, many phone calls, many meetings, I am happy to present that in this packet here today, I have attached is the finalized JPA agreement for Wright County area transportation with the addition of Wright County, which has been passed by, I think we're at 98%. I think Waverly will be the last one voting tonight, correct? Yes. And that'll put us at the 100%, which brings us to us as a board here to decide whether we can finalize this and be able to move forward as a county having a share of the operations in Trailblazer, the Sibley McLeod Wright County conglomerate bus service. This agreement brings Wright County to a 50% cost share with a cap of $100,000 for the cities for local and capital expenses, with a dilution factor of 10% each year for the WCAT cities, ending with a final transferring of WCAT to 100% county run sometime in the next 2 to 4 years. So that's all kind of worded out in here. That's the highlights of it. Also, I'm going to kind of go over some of the highlights of this agreement will bring Wright County to the Trailblazer Joint Powers Board as one of 2 members, which will be shared with a member of the WCAT cities. So one of us will be shared with one of the WCAT cities. A few of the changes have been made to the Trailblazer JPA in the past month, which I want to share. Starting in 2018, the local share percentages will be 45% for WCAT, 35% for McLeod, 20% for Sibley. That equates to about 37,500 is the estimated local share for WCAT, which would be about 18,000 something $18,730 or something of that nature would be Wright County's share for the local operating expenses. That doesn't include any capital expenses. But previous to our old meeting, we allocated roughly around $100,000 that we would be willing to go in between local share and capital expenses. Roughly, that's a high number.
Yep.
Also, starting in 2018, the Trailblazer JPA will only be consisted of elected officials, maybe serving on the Trailblazer board. Starting in 2018, the Trailblazer board will be made up of 2 members from each of the entities, 2 from Wright County and WCAT members, 2 from Sibley and 2 from McLeod. Starting in 2018, we'll be going with a traditional quorum is a quorum. There'll be no more needing to have a member from each entity to be able to convene a meeting. However, items affecting the cost of the local share in excess of $20,000 will need a member from each entity there to be able to make adjustments affecting local share costs.
So you've gotten those approvals by the other 2 counties then?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So those are those changes to the JPA are already done. They were agreed on prior to us even having a vote on it. That was the WCAT cities agreed on these changes with the Sibley and McLeod County. So those are all finalized changes. I just want to keep you up to date as to where the Trailblazer board stands at this point with us coming on. I wanted to have you be well up to date with where you'd be voting on. My second item that I would be addressing, if you so choose to, which I encourage you that this is a good agreement, would be to releasing of the $595,575, which would be the capital operating expenses that will be held by Trailblazer, which would be essentially returned to us if, for whatever reason, we would dissolve.
Derek, can I ask you a question? So, let's say in the remote possibility that maybe they could actually cover their operating costs with, ride share, money or whatever, and they actually showed a number in the black, would that money be able to be returned sooner than when the whole entity came to an end?
The only way they could profit would be smart rides. You can't profit out of the 5311 money. Basically, any money that you'd be coming into the black would be subtracted from your next year's funds. So you can't profit from that. The only way is if we decided to expand our smart rides and was able to turn a profit from that. But history would tell us that if we were making money on smart rides, we'd use that to offset our capital expenses. We wouldn't be able to return that. It wouldn't be, how would you say it, common sense wouldn't say that'd be best to use that money to pay down your loan, or not loan, but
So how was River Rider able to build up funds then?
they have made dramatic changes from the way MnDOT was funding their operations 4 years ago to where they are now.
In the law, you
Yep.
mean they did? Okay.
Yep. So before, the way it works now is, the reason we had to put the $600,000 out there is because we have to pay for all the stuff first, then they
At a
reimburse
time.
us back.
Right.
Whereas before, that wasn't the case. They give you the money, and then you didn't have to pay it back. So they basically set it up now that there's no way you can make a profit, because if you had a profit, they wouldn't give you all that money.
And
That's a really.
Mr. Chair,
Government.
It's
Mr. Chair,
government.
Derek, it seems to me, I mean, I have to review notes, but it seems to me even 4 years ago when this is all taking place, that when we had the meetings with Trailblazer, essentially, they are operating on a, down to zero.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. I mean, you front the money and then you spend it through the year and you bring it down to zero. And so I know it's just kind of a little different way of.
So if they, like I said, it's unlikely anyway, but let's say they did make money, they had excess money at the end, they'd buy pencil erasers and supplies and.
No, you would
make sure it
typically
gets
use
spent.
it to, because you have unmet needs. So you could use it for capital expenses for the building, upgrades to items within the building if you needed to. You could use it to pay back all the local shares, to offset your local shares if it happened to turn a profit from, say, the smart rides. Or you could use it to purchase more buses to.
So it could go then that there could be no local share if
If
the
you were-
ridership was high enough. And that's really what it comes down to. If the ridership's high enough, you could,
On smart rides. I want to stress that you couldn't make money on the 5311 money just because it's set up not to happen.
but what would you do? I mean, let's say you accidentally made money on it. What do? You have to give it back to the state then, or what?
So basically what happens, Mr. Chair, is we say that next year is going to cost us $5.4 million to operate the entire buses. So what happens is we have that $600,000 that we put in there is going to pay for all the fuel, all the drivers for the first quarter of the year. At the end of the first quarter, they will reimburse us for what we spent in that first quarter. And then so you keep getting reimbursed after each quarter. And that's the reason we have to put that money out there, is because we have to front the payroll, we have to front the fuel, and we only get reimbursed for what we spend. And we have to submit a budget to the state explaining how much we are going to spend throughout the year, and they say yes or no. And then we have to adjust our budget based on what they agree to reimburse us for. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It's a complex system, but it
Yep.
makes sense.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just have one question. On page 1 of 3, in the Trailblazers Joint Powers Board 5311 Service Plan for fiscal 2018, the third paragraph down,
Which page, Mark? Or-
it says page 1 of 3. On the top it says Trailblazer Joint Powers Board 5311 Service Plan,
The first page.
CY
Yep,
2018.
okay, yep,
Third paragraph down.
yep.
It talks about all the townships not be able to
That was a modification that was just made out our last meeting, and Kevin Castle probably could step up and address that one too. If you want to just address that,
because there's 2 cities that weren't part of WCAT and none of the townships were. And if the county's involved, we need to have everybody.
and
And no, that will be revised. Part of this was drawn up before Wright County was going to be part of WCAT. So that will be revised in the plan. What's been sent to the state understands that the counties will be involved in this now, and it's one of the reasons why our budget was actually increased a little bit from what we thought our initial allocation was going to be, so.
that was voted on at the last Trailblazer meeting, that all the townships are
Yes. Yeah.
have access starting January 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that actually was attractive to the other 2 counties too, because they've got unserved areas that they know that they need to get to, and the fact that we can start bringing the townships in actually kind of helps with the numbers and the justification to the state that we need more funds, so.
Okay, good.
And Mr. Chair, I appreciate that because as a county, I mean, a lot of our residents are in townships, and for them to be able to have access to the services is a real plus.
You know, and I kind of disagree with that because I live in a township and I said, I think at some point there has to be some personal responsibility, but I guess I'm living in a different world. I guess now the government's going to hold everybody's hand and take care of everybody. Give them rides, give them everything they need, and there'll be no accountability because my grandparents, when they got older, they lived on the farm. They moved into town where they're closer to the services, but we won't have to do that anymore. We'll have food brought out to us, drive us to the doctor and everything else.
With all due respect, Mr. Chair, how does that differ from a person living in the city to a person living in a township? We're providing rides, we're providing access for people in cities, so why not provide it for people in townships?
That's because it's a huge expense.
Mr. Chair, I want to,
But anyway, you're going to win on this.
Mr. Chair, I want to start off by also saying that I'd like to make a recommendation, or a motion to approve the agreement to join WCAT, Wright County Area Transportation, as my first action item.
Second that.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 2.
All right, I'm sorry, 1 second. My second item on here is the approval of the invoice for the working capital to WCAT in the amount of $595,575,000. Once again, this is basically working capital that if the entity dissolved or for whatever reason we left the entity, we would be returned these assets.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, and I would just be opposed to that because I think it's expanding the
the whole system, but I said I know I'm on the opposite side of this, so. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, aye. Motion carries 4-1.
Number
Next up.
4 item on the agenda would be the authorizing of the Wright County to sponsor a WCAT membership application to MCIT. Mr. Coordinator, with this item, do we want to hold this over because we have some items that we need to address as far as language in the membership?
Sure, I can speak to that. I guess for minimum today, informational to the board, we are moving forward in discussions with MCIT to provide, since this is a joint powers entity, it has to be its own insurance coverage. So we've moved forward researching that with MCIT. They've requested a few additional pieces of information to complete that application, but have indicated they'd be able to apply coverage as early as January. So I guess for today's purposes, just know, and the board, if you're okay with us, we'll continue to move forward towards that. And in the future, once we get all the T's crossed and I's dotted, we'll bring back for final adoption. If there's any questions on that item, I'm more than happy to speak to it.
Okay.
It's not to exceed $2,600. The $2,600 would be if we opted to have work comp, but there is no actual per se employees of WCAT. So the work comp aspect of it would most likely disappear, which would bring us down to around the $1,800 range, which would be split 50% with WCAT. So each entity would have a cost of roughly $900 annually. Roughly, that's depending once we determine what level of insurance coverage we have.
Do we need, Lee, would you like to have action on item number 5 there first, and then number 6? Or
No, there's no.
No, there's no action. Those are, and that's the same with the authorized, the Wright County Risk Manager as WCAT's member contact. These items are going to come back in January after our WCAT meeting in January 16th because I have to address these items there first. We found out before we can come back and address them here. So that there was a timing issue that we thought that maybe we'd be able to get this taken care of, but we found out just after our last WCAT meeting that I needed to get this information done at that level first.
Okay, so there'll be a motion on number 6, so.
Nope.
No?
Those items,
For nothing?
yep, so 4, 5, and 6 will come back in January for
Okay.
actual authorization.
Got
Do
it.
we need to table that,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair? Table those, or?
Yep, I'll be motioning just to table those off till January, to the last meeting in January.
We're not.
I'll second that.
Well,
Not
I'll bring them
tabling it.
back, I'll just put them back on the agenda in the end of
Okay,
January, so we don't even have to
table.
table them.
Postponing the info.
Postponing.
Okay.
Tabling is different.
Different, yeah, so,
That's what I learned last week.
you see, I should've went to the parliamentarian meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Well, if he has a motion, then we have to have.
There's
I'll
no
withdraw my
motion.
motion.
Oh, you withdraw the motion, okay. Well, there was a motion.
You're right, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
I didn't even go to the class, so.
since Susan is updating the committee things at this point, and I don't know if we have it officially, but I would suggest that we, and I'll make a motion that Derek be the Wright County board member as part of the transportation committee for the WCAT
Starting
Trailblazers,
immediate.
starting January 1st.
Okay, well, otherwise we'd do that at the organizational
Meeting,
meeting on the
January.
1st, so.
But
That's already, it is addressed on there.
Is it on there?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It's on there, yep.
Okay.
So then we won't need to, did you want to withdraw that?
I'll
motion?
withdraw that motion. Sorry.
Thank you.
Chair.
So, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, just to clarify, knowing we will have this coming on as an additional group we're with, we were planning an agenda, just kind of a housekeeping item next week to add it to our official listing.
Okay.
And then, as you had stated, the first organizational meeting of the year, we can assign a member.
But I don't think there'll be any objection having Derek in there, so.
No, not with all the work he's done on
Yeah.
it.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, members, I appreciate all of your help and support with this organization. I believe that this is the right move for the county, for everyone. This is a good venture, and the cities I know are going to are very pleased to be able to moving forward with this. This is a win-win for everyone.
You know, we
I
could,
agree, and I appreciate all the hard work I know you've put.
we could irritate a few people and suggest Charlie go on that board.
Charlie doesn't want to.
Okay, Mr. Chair, to call the question.
That takes a
We have not
two-thirds
voted on
vote.
that.
That takes a two-thirds vote. Do you really want to do that, Mike?
Mr. Chair, I'm completed with my item B then, because the other items are held off to another meeting.
Okay. I don't think there was really a vote on the thing.
Yeah, but, well, there was a motion and a second authorize us to postpone this.
And one final item, I want to recognize all the cities
no,
that showed up
they
today.
actually- I don't
Thank
think
you
they
for showing up today and for
I think it was
supporting this agreement and moving forward. And we're
Okay.
happy to do it.
We are, gosh, Mike, we're ahead of schedule.
Good item
Minutes.
consideration.
Yeah, let's do, we go to items for consideration. We have, because at 9:30, we have the public hearing for fees, so we'll have to wait a few
Way
minutes
down
for
here
that.
now. Okay.
Items for consideration. Building committee, Mr. Potter, could you take that for us?
Thank you for that blindsiding thing here. I'm gonna find it in here.
Well, I did talk to you earlier about.
I know, but you taking everything out of order here, so now you gotta find it in the packet.
We have a large packet today.
It's very large today. In fact, we were instructed to make sure we lift with our knees. And I'm having a tough time finding that one now.
See if we can find it, help you find it.
Yeah.
I scrambled these things up from, I should have separated out the BKV stuff. That would
Here you
have
go.
saved us. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner. Here's some. Mr. Chair, the building committee met on November 15th. Members present Potter, Delyden, Wilczek, Kelly, others present Stevens. The item that we discussed was recycling center tipping floor roof and structure. As you know, we had the wind blow down part of it, and we've been working with MCIT on what to do with this. And Wilczek presented an overview of the site, recapping the storm damage for the building and the demolition to remove it. Say the Wright County has up to 2 years from the date of the storm, and that was July 6th of 2016, to completely reconstruct and receive the remaining funds of approximately $60,000 from MCIT. And Wilczek was asking for confirmation on if we're going to rebuild the structure or leave it as currently is. That's the reference to the tipping floor, the rebuilding of that structure of the tipping floor part. The cost to rebuild the structure with a lower ceiling height, the same footprint, was about $200,000. We've had that discussion before, and we had kind of had further talks on which way we wanted to go with this. Stevens commented that was getting along okay without the tipping floor covered, but reconstruction, that would be a good improvement and would be utilized. It's a good staging area for concrete, the cardboard bales and that. It does work out to have it enclosed like that. They can look to expand the program and have covered space would be beneficial in doing that. And I think we've had talks before about we are going to stay there. That's going to be a compost facility. We're going to operate it. So that helps in the decision. Delight agreed that we'd like to see the program expanded at that site. We have it. Let's use it. I comment that the site is long-term and rebuilding would be useful for future operations because as recycling grows, there's more things we can utilize out there, and I agree with Commissioner Delight on that comment that, let's expand this. Discussion was about the equipment and the processing portion of the building, and if Wright County should pursue options to sell it or have it removed. There's a lot of space that could be better utilized and programs could be expanded if the equipment is no longer in place. And that had the discussion of the appurtenance in there, like your hammer mills and your conveyors and some of that other stuff that was there when it was used as a recycling center before, to get that equipment out of there so you can better utilize the space instead of having to work around all of it. The recommendation coming out of that committee was the rebuild the tipping floor structure to an interior clear height of approximately 16 feet, and for Stevens to look into options for selling the equipment from the processing site. We had bids before, and we're going to refresh that, get that, and get a couple values and move on. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the building committee minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second it. Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delyden. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Delyden.
Thank you.
Just so long as you guys are aware of, when we say by selling the equipment from the processing side of the building, don't expect much. If we break even, that'll be well worth it because then we'll get part of our building back.
Quite a bit of the building back.
Yeah, considerable amount is right. And that's what they're just looking at. And there's some of that stuff that's reusable that there'll be a market for, and there's some of it is just scrap metal.
Okay. Yeah, they'll have to, I don't think you could get some of it out without cutting it up, I don't think the doors are big enough even. Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We do have 9:30 here, so let's go back to our timed agenda. And proposed fees for service. Lee, who's going to head up that?
I can speak to that, Mr. Chair. As you are aware, pursuant to Minnesota statute, we are required to provide a public hearing opportunity for any fee changes that we would like to make. We've collected them from the different departments. We try and do this once in the fall and gather anything prior to the start of the new year. So what's included in your packet is what has been gathered for the Auditor Treasurer Department and Sheriff are the ones that have submitted items for this year. I don't know if you have specific questions on any of those fees.
Lee, the only thing, I wish we'd have the changes either in red or whatever maybe you can summarize it and go through, because we don't have last year's here with us, so.
That's, Mr. Chair, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, well,
It would be nice to look, I mean, if it's just going up $1 or $2, but if somebody was doubling the price, I think it would raise a red flag with the board maybe, so.
Sure, and for the purposes of your packet, the document, the changes are highlighted in bold. I apologize, it's not in red. It is a little difficult to see, but some of these are just clarification in languages due to the development of practices, and actually some are removals. So, for example, the Sheriff's Office is removing how they had operated with some of the services summons fees and just created it as more of a flat amount. Because it became logistically easier to implement. So it may, depending on the situation, result in some savings to those utilizing the service,
So
or it may,
these.
would really vary on a case-by-case basis, I guess.
Right, it would be nice then to just have those things with a line through like we do a lot of times.
Sure.
Being removed, and then the other ones, doesn't need to be red, but bold like that works too, but, okay.
So most examples here are a remove and replace type of situation.
So the summons though is, service for summons fee was $30 plus mileage, and now it's just gonna go up to $70 flat?
Well, the challenge would be and I guess if you have questions, the Sheriff's Office could maybe speak to this a little bit better, but you don't know what the mileage is going to be when you initially start some of these requests. And the challenge is we do require people to pay ahead of time. So it's hard to track down if there's a cost that's incurred in addition of what was already paid. It becomes kind of a logistical challenge, so.
That amount would probably go to our unpaid debt thing that we just addressed a few weeks ago, probably. No, that makes sense to do it that way.
So I guess if there's no additional questions, this does require a public hearing, and we'd ask for a public hearing
Okay,
at this time, and.
all right. Is there anything from the board before we open it up to the public? Commissioner Potter? No. Okay. All right, well, if anyone from the public would like to speak to this, come up to the podium, state your name, and let us hear. Brian, you don't have anything to say? All right, if they're seeing nothing from the public, one more time, anyone from the public to talk to this matter? Okay, we're going to close the public comment at this time and bring it back up here to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the fee schedule as proposed.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Newsom. Further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Greg Kreiser, Assistant County Attorney.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I am standing before you today to present the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 15th, 2017, and to act on the recommendation of that hearing. The public hearing in this matter has been closed to further written and oral comments. Yesterday, just to update the record here, our office received a letter from Mr. Peter Larson with the Larkin Hoffman firm, which requests the application from Advanced Disposal Services, Rolling Hills Landfill Incorporated, be withdrawn. I'd request the board review and act on this letter and the minutes after the minutes are approved. The purpose of the November 2017 committee meeting was to conduct a public hearing on the zoning application of Advanced Disposal, Rolling Hills Landfill Incorporated. This hearing was held in regards to Planning and Zoning Code File Number PR 2017-000 00719. The property the applicant is seeking to rezone is commonly located at 175 County Road 37 Northeast. The applicant is seeking to rezone approximately 213 acres of land located in Section 31 of Township 121 and Range 25. The property is located in the Township of Monticello in the County of Wright and has been assigned PID numbers 213-100-312302 and partially on PID number 213-100-314100. Notice of the November 15, 2017 public hearing was mailed on November 2, 2017. Notice of the public hearing was first published on November 3 of 2017. Staff noticed a publisher's error listing the incorrect Wright County entity, and a notice of public hearing and correction was again republished on November 10 of 2017. The notices were published in the official newspaper for Wright County. The Committee of the Whole for November 15, 2017 was called to order at 7 p.m. by Commissioner and Acting Chairman Mark Dahl-Leiden. All other board members were present. Staff present was Sean Riley, Wright County Zoning Administrator, Terry Pyram, the Secretary, myself, Greg Kreiser, Assistant Wright County Attorney, and our retained outside counsel, Mr. John Baker with the Green Espel Law Firm. The applicants and their attorney were present, as were a number of members from the public. The boardroom was filled to capacity. The meeting started with the board members giving introductions. Commissioner Dahl-Leiden then read introductory comments on the procedures for the meeting. The chair then recognized Sean Riley, and staff provided a brief explanation of the zoning request. After staff completed its presentation, the applicant then made its presentation. After the applicant completed its presentation, 38 people from the public provided comments. After members of the public provided their comments, the applicants then made a closing presentation. After the applicants made their final presentation, the public hearing was closed to further written and oral comments. The committee then discussed the application. After discussion, the committee then made a recommendation and directed staff to draft findings on the rezoning application that were consistent with denial, and also made a recommendation to the Wright County Board of Commissioners that it denied the zoning change from general agricultural to general industrial. The meeting then adjourned at 11:20 p.m. Mr. Chair, I present these minutes to you as prepared by the zoning secretary. Unless the board has amendments, staff would recommend the board adopt the minutes as presented.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I will make that motion to accept the minutes from November 15th.
That's just the minutes at this time.
Just the minutes at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Houston made the motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Dahl-Leiden. Further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, pursuant to the direction and recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, staff has prepared and drafted proposed findings on the zoning application of Advanced Disposal Services Rolling Hills Landfill Incorporated. The proposed findings in order for denial are attached to the agenda and have been distributed to all the board members. Yesterday, at around 2 p.m., our office received a hand-delivered letter from Mr. Peter Larson with the Larkin Hoffman firm requesting that the applicant's zoning request be withdrawn. Our office has also received a request from attorneys Jack Perry and Pat Mulberg to adopt the findings as presented. I have provided the board with a copy of all the submittals that we received from those three people. Staff and outside counsel have reviewed the letter and the emails, and we recommend that the board grant the request to withdraw.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the letter for withdrawal?
I'll make that motion to accept the letter for, from Advanced Disposal Expansion Withdrawal of Application for Rezoning.
Motion by Commissioner Dahl-Leiden.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Houston. Further discussion from the board?
This is Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
I'm going to go with the recommendation of council on this, but it is problematic that the time and effort to go through these applications have withdrawn, not just the public planning and zoning and us I mean, if you keep coming back, that's a lot of expense on this board, and at some point in time, it would be nice to make a final, but based on the council that we're going forward with this, I just see the expense side of this, and we, most of us back there have a stack, it's about this high right now, of various volumes of information, plus everything else that came in emails and everything else there. So just going through this now, 2 years later, we'll come through this again, At some point in time, in my personal opinion, you gotta say we're doing it or we're not doing it. And that's just my 2 cents worth, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can
Thank
go
you.
off the record at this time.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kaiser. Okay, next up, we have an item regarding a safe access out to the fairgrounds, and I've kind of brought this forward. Should we take a little bit of a break, Lee, or?
Yeah, why don't we pause for a minute if folks want to
We'll just wait
exit
for
the
this.
room,
A few people clearing the room, so we'll just pause here for a
You
moment.
want to take a 5-minute just a 5-minute break?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
What?
do I take it now or running
Because
ahead? You got 5 minutes.
we got lots of things going on here.
Trying to be timely here.
Either way.
Lee, is it all right if we took 5 minutes?
Yes, I think that'd be
Okay,
fine.
we will take a temporary break for 5 minutes and re-adjourn at 9:45. Okay, we're going to reconvene. I love that. So, and next up on the agenda is something that I've been working with Howard Lake, and it would be a safe route out to the fairgrounds. But after talking with Commissioner Vetch yesterday, he thinks a better way for this to do would be to work with.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chair, I just want to have some more discussion, because this kind of came up real last minute, and I want to give you the best foot forward to be able to make this happen if the board so wishes, but I need to also make sure this is done in a manner that we don't set some precedents. And right now, the way this is going about, we'd be possibly changing our trail and road agreements, or setting a precedence that would change our road and trail agreements between the municipalities. So I'm going to start off right away by making a recommendation that this goes to the Ways and Means Committee to discuss how this funding could be done in a manner where we can fund it through the county fair board, and the county fair board could then fund the city of Howard Lake to make this process happen and not be setting any precedences.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Houston, so we'll send this to the Ways and Means Committee. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Vetch, for that too. Next up, Chief Deputy Attorney Brian Oslison.
You want to go even those before Ted?
Oh, that's, gosh, we are really,
I know.
we have something here. Okay, no, we won't do that, because that is a timed item here. Let's go to, Committee of the Whole, and I'll surprise Commissioner Delight in here now to try to find those minutes in there.
Yeah.
And here it is.
Okay.
The committee met on November 21st with the BKV regarding the Wright County Master Plan study. The Wright County has commissioned BKV to give us a master plan study. We'll be meeting again later on this morning with them.
Wasn't it November 14th, though?
It was, yes, for clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The minutes were issued
On the 21st.
on the 21st.
Yeah, I apologize.
14th.
Okay.
So we met on the 14th, meeting time 1:30 to 2:30, and everybody was present, including Alan Wilczek, Facility Service Director, Lee Kelly, County Coordinator, and a number of Wright County Department heads. The BKB group team was Bruce Schwartzman, Michael Healy, and Maggie Lafferty. Printed copies of the master plan study were presented to everybody. All this information can be found on the county website for today's packet. BKV reviewed the overall study objectives and planning goal. They had projected department staffing and operational spaces required. That was developed thus far. It was discussed, and we don't know when this will happen, that at some point Wright County Board of Commissioners may increase from 5 to 7. A lot of it will depend on population info that comes forth. We discussed having the license center, or where they're doing the current testing, which is downtown Buffalo, about moving that back up here to the courthouse. And this is all contingent upon when the court systems move and the government center is redone. And that's what we're looking at, trying to figure out what's going to be re-needed and how long, with everybody bringing Health and Human Services back here, on how long this facility will last based on growth. The EOC, which is the old jail, which we're still paying on, is not shown in the planning options for the government center. The option for locating the EOC is Emergency Operations Center, which has a small area here, and that's what being moved to a different location in the future. The estimated cost for demolition of the existing jail, providing the final report, which we'll have today, hopefully. There was discussion regarding having Human Services satellite office located around the county. Potential sale of the government center and adjacent property was discussed. We're looking at all different options. The area is labeled maintenance on the planning options. It's just mechanical. It will be relabeled to mechanical because it was kind of confusing on that. It was stated by the IT that relocating the existing server room to a new location within the government center is feasible. Things have changed since it was first looked at one time. The county would like to understand what is required at the government center in the short term to meet their 5-year needs and bring human services over. Parking analysis need to be revised to show 10 available parking stalls at the library for staff parking instead of 32 shown on the plan. County's requested that on-street parking stalls be included in the parking analysis. On-street parking does not count toward the total off-street parking required by zoning ordinances. Basement plans of the government center should be included with the plan option to clarify storage areas. It was also suggested that they look at the outdoor rec area above the vacant jail as a potential use. The next steps is BKV Group will provide cost data for each option presented to view at the next board workshop. Cost data will include potential costs for additional parking, potential money from the sale of Human Services Center and Government Center, and demolition costs for vacant jail. Possible meeting with department directors to review finding planning options, and the county board workshop later on today. So I will make a motion to accept these minutes.
And were there recommendations too, or?
There really are no recommendations.
No recommendations. I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Motion to accept the minutes by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Potter. Further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the public's use, so they understand what we're doing here, is when the courts and the related businesses move out to the new Justice Center in the third quarter of 2019, the idea is to bring Health and Human Service in from the Human Service Center, Old Palmyra, back into the Government Center. One of the issues we encountered was we were going to be at 100% capacity day one. So then it begs the question, how do we handle that? How long can we stay here before we need to spend money, and what's the tipping point, money spent versus doing something else? And I think it's not only good for this board, good for the public, but good for future boards to know that it has been discussed, it's been looked at, and how we're going to handle this, and how the best way to go forward in the most cost-effective manner. And that's what I want to make sure that the public was understanding, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Commissioner Delighten. That was a lot of stuff in that meeting. Okay, it's 10 o'clock, right?
Close enough.
10 o'clock. Chief Deputy Attorney Brian Osleson. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. Mr. Chair and members of the board. My item has to do with requesting for the board to authorize signatures on a revised joint powers agreement for what is now called the Midwest Regional Forensic Laboratory. We started out as Tri-Counties, I think, and have changed the name along the way. In early 2017, well, going back even further, there's been concern on Wright County's behalf for several years that our use of the lab or our requests for service from the lab have not equated to our share of the funding, which is based on solely on population in the original joint powers agreement. Back in early 2017, there was a task force that met once or twice, made up of, I believe, the 3 sheriffs and other representatives from each county. What they came up with was a weighted formula that is based 60% on population and 40% on lab usage. And so the revised joint powers agreement you have in front of you has been approved by the advisory committee for the lab. And like I indicated in my agenda request, the main change is in section 8.04 dealing with how the lab is financed. I actually did some of the drafting work and for this revision, and what we also tried to do was just clean up some superfluous language. That's a tough word. That was from the original agreement back in 2008 that really didn't need to be in there anymore because the lab is up and running. So I'm just here to answer any questions you may have about the revised agreement.
Brian, I do have a question right off. On page 6 with section 8.03, is that new? Because we had talked about adding so that we could possibly make some money, you know, as far as charging other counties to do some custom work, if you want to call it, or outside work.
Mr. Chair, my recollection is that section may have been added in. You know, I don't know if that was in the original agreement. If it was not in the original agreement, it was added in 2012 when there were some changes made. We've had a few requests. Most recently at our meeting, we were told that, you know, some county it may have been homicide or something, and they were told that their wait time at the BCA would be 60 or more days for some DNA. And they purchase services through this lab. So we expect to be seeing perhaps more of that in the future.
And I'm wondering if, you know, it just says that the fee would be set by the Anoka County Board of Commissioners. I don't know, it just seems to me that it would make sense to have the entire, you know, that fee thing set by the board, you know, but.
Well, it says that it is.
In consultation.
With the committee.
But
so, I mean, I would assume that they're going to take the recommendations of the committee.
No, I got that, and it shouldn't be an issue really, but I'm just wondering why, unless maybe it's something that a unique thing might come up and they need quick action, they can't wait for your board to convene, so in that way it does make sense, I guess.
Well, not only that, but it is in Anoka.
Right, it's in Anoka, they own the equipment, basically, they own the space, and that kind of thing. So.
Well, okay, Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think part of that has to do with like say, Anoka County being the fiscal agent, having the control of that, and they're going to take the advice of the committee that goes on there, but they'll have a better handle without having to go through every county and everything is how much does it cost for A, B, and C. They're going to be able to make a quicker decision, which is more beneficial to get things done here. I don't see a problem with that at all. The language, sometimes you look at it, you're going, okay, what does that mean? But with the crime lab working the way it does, I'm not seeing an issue with this. They're just going to make sure that they're going to charge the proper amount for the services that you're asking.
No, and I just, it's a concern is all, but my thing is, I just want to make sure that we're not losing money, that it's not costing us money. So, Chris,
right.
you just be on top of that, I guess that's
definitely.
all I'm saying.
Mr. Chair, one more item.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And the revision to the policy to include the population and the usage was discussed at length in this board for a long time, and I applaud the rest of them for seeing that made sense, but it came to a discussion, they talked about it, and to change it to that formula actually saves Wright County money in the attempt if we enact, if we don't do it, it's like if Sherburne County does way more than their population, and it is more of a fair, I mean, we've got all these joint powers agreements out there, and not a one of them, there's no boilerplate, and they're all different based on criteria, but in this particular case, I like what this is done here because it will be a better and more fair representation of what's going on without disrupting.
Definitely a step in the right direction.
Our numbers are going up, our percentage. I mean, we're paying close to 20%, 19 point whatever, just by population based because of our increasing population. However, our usage is going up, and it's you know, say at some point we actually exceed the population based, and whatever our numbers are, this is just a more fair formula for everyone. So
I agree.
I was very pleased that the other two counties were in agreement with that change, that proposed change, and
I just wish it wouldn't have taken so long.
well,
The wheels of government, Mark.
yep.
Yeah, well, and I do commend them regarding the services for non-member counties because getting that done instead of bogging it down with different
Oh, yeah.
committees and everything else, getting it down to take care of those issues for those other counties is what, to me, is important. And that's doing what the government's supposed to do.
Right.
It's servicing.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to...
I'll make that motion.
Second.
To approve, authorize the signatures on the joint powers thing. Motion by Commissioner Lyden, second by Commissioner Potter. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just, I would just note that this is designed to extend it for 5 years, so out through, I believe, 2022. And chances are we may be back to adjust things before then. We have the census coming up, of course, in 2020, and that may change the funding a little bit with the population changes. So, but the other, like I said, the advisory committee and the other counties are all comfortable with this revised agreement.
Brian, thank you for your work on this, too.
Yes, thank you. That did a fine job.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you again, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Mark Mattice, our Parks and Recreation Director. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board, media. A couple orders of business I'd like to address today, and that would be reviewing the Wright County Parks Commission minutes from November 13th and taking actions as necessary. There was three recommendations that came out of our November 13th Park Commission, and that is authorize the Park and Recreation Department to apply for a number of grants. One being the Clearwater Pleasant Park pavement restoration, and that was in the CIP as a cost share. We'd be applying for FedRec and a local trails grant for that. Resolutions would come back to you at a later date once the applications are worked out, but without getting approval to apply, I don't want to go through the work and then get told to get out of the boardroom. Second one is Stanley Eddy Park Reserve. It's a property acquisition. We discussed it back in May. You told me to move forward a little bit with the landowner, making sure everything was in order. Met with them last week and had some communication over the weekend with them as well. And the appraisal came back and they were satisfied with that. So that would be applying to natural and scenic grant application for that project. And then the Otsego Park River Stabilization Project, hoping to apply for a grant for that one as well. That's we had 50,000 in the CIP as a placeholder for a local match for that one.
Don't you think it'd be a good idea to take these one at a time?
You can do what you want, Mr. Chair. I'm just explaining.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, so, okay, so you guys have a lot of stuff on the platter, and that's what you're trying to say, though.
Or just working.
Okay.
Doing what we're supposed to do. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Deline.
Regarding the Otsego Park Riverbank stabilization, this is in Otsego along the Mississippi River, and there is quite a bit of damage in the park area there, but beyond the park, it's even worse.
Yes.
And I met with Soil and Water the other day, and we're trying to figure out a way to get some additional funding to take care of those. When the Corps of Engineers built that dike, they rocked it, and they only rocked it so far. So they've actually created the problem we are having now, and people are losing a couple of feet of bank a year. It's getting where we got to figure out something. So we're hoping that we can do this all at one time because the cost savings would be beneficial to all parties instead of having to try and do it twice.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Question for Commissioner Delight. So with the levy stabilization, are we talking all the way to Parish or all the way to 101?
No, it's just on the west of Parish.
West of Parish, from Parish west to the park?
Yes.
Okay. So I've got clarification.
Yeah, and it's only halfway because part of it's already rocked and it's not an issue.
I
It's
just wanted
just right where
clarification on the area.
it's right where the curve is that the Corps of Engineers should have done it, but they didn't. So that's where we're causing a problem because it's, well, water has this tendency to want to go in a straight line at times.
Yeah. In all fairness to the Corps of Engineers, not that I'm legal counsel defending them, but at the time with the floods of 65,
Yeah.
they had their hands full.
Yeah, they did.
And they just kind of put a Band-Aid on pretty much everything they touched.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the Parks Department to apply for grants for the Clearwater, Pleasance, Stanley Eddy, and Otsego parks.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Delighten, and that is a resolution, correct?
Nope.
No, that's a
Resolutions will come at a later date once applications are put
Okay.
together, probably February.
Okay, so further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous, thank you. Then approve recommendation to not pursue a land acquisition?
Yep.
Yeah, we actually turned them down. Can you believe it?
But,
And there's some that you don't even see that we turned
but if
down.
we're not gonna pursue it, we wouldn't need action, would we? You just brought that up just to show that you do this occasionally.
No,
for
because
your
you
benefit.
could
Just for
not,
me.
you could not accept their recommendation.
Okay.
It's a
Mr. Chair.
a parcel of land near, and adjacent to Robert Nye Park. It has a home on it. Board did not, the Parks Commission did not feel it was they like it, but it's not a 100% great fit for.
Okay. Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you,
I got a
Mr.
map
Chair.
if you wanna see it.
We have had this discussion about we just can't endlessly just take land off the tax rolls just because we'd like it.
Because we can.
I mean, it's got to have some criteria to fit in, and this one you said didn't fit in. The Stanley Eddy one, we did talk about how that piece there did actually fit into the thing. We don't want to take everything off the tax rolls, but we've got to try to have, there's got to be a line somewhere, this is what we'll accept and this is what we won't accept. And I do applaud the Park Commission for actually looking at this and listening to what the board had asked them to do is be a little judicious on which parcels you're going to take in.
But I guess it's just, to me, it's kind of funny that we're making a motion to not pursue it, and whereas if we just
Well,
did pursue it, it would be
It's a
okay.
recommendation.
Yeah,
It's
Mr.
your
Chair, that-
decision
yeah.
to pursue or not to pursue
Right.
land acquisition.
I'm okay with it, though, it's
When
just,
people come forward with,
Us, as the Park Commission
Okay.
felt, we have in the past said, nah, it doesn't fit, and we didn't bring it to the board. But, so you guys understand what some
That's
of the
okay.
things
This-
they deal with.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to say no.
okay.
I didn't know.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Lyden to
You said no.
approve
you
the
don't.
recommendation to not purchase the land.
I'm
Okay.
confused, Mr. Chair. He said no, so I don't know if he's
Yeah.
accepting the recommendations or denying the recommendation.
Denying.
Denying, okay.
Okay. No, you're approving the
yeah.
recommendation to not.
Denying the purchase.
Second one was,
Let's vote on that real quick. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up, Mark.
the third one is, I've been having conversations with the city of Hanover, Riverside Park. It's one of our river system parks on the Crow River. It's tucked back in the middle, it's tucked back in the city of Hanover. Looking at trying to work with them on doing some park improvements, so this would authorize me to continue the work on that. Some of the things we're gonna be looking at doing is, expanding shore fishing opportunities, improving the canoe launch area, and an archery range. There is no archery range on that side of the county. We have one in city of Clearwater, worked out great. We have one with the Silver Creek Hasty Sportsman's Club. Get a little higher use to that park, a little more public visibility and a benefit to them. I met with their park commission. They're excited about it, so it'd just be us working out a memorandum of understanding, similar to what we did with Clearwater, on those improvements and how we can maybe cost share and work together for the betterment of the public in Hanover.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hanover Park is probably one of our more underutilized parks in the county. And there's a lot of population out there that would use it if there was some improvements, and there's certain fiscal limitations with Hanover to be able to improvement, and I think this is a good partnership with the county to help bring the resources to make that park, up to its full potential.
Okay, I just have a question, and then I'll come right back. Riverside Park, is that a county park or a city park?
County park.
It is county, okay, go ahead, Commissioner Lyon.
It is it's one of our smaller
13
county parks.
acres.
Yeah.
On the river, and Hanover had requested do a lot of things that we don't normally do in our county parks, which is why I think an agreement to work together makes a lot more sense. And that's what we should be doing a lot of places, instead of duplicating a lot of those different amenities at our parks and the city parks, working together to get it done in one location. And it is like you said, Commissioner Potter, it's a park that's underutilized. It's a really beautiful little park.
Yes, it is.
We need to do some better advertising, and which I think is one of the things that Hanover had requested, is a little better signage or
Maybe
something.
letting people know where they should turn.
Well, in younger days, we had no problem finding that park.
I'm sure you didn't.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
That's what they
authorizing
want to get
Park
rid
and
of.
Recreation Department to work with the City of Hanover and pursue partnership improvements for Riverside Park.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighted.
Yeah, and back then, Commissioner Potter, there weren't so many houses back in that area, so
The rooters were still there,
it
though.
was still easier to.
Mr. Chair, that's where we had our senior skip day.
Oh, see, it has a lot of.
Those are the activities Hanover is hoping to limit.
Because of your senior skip day, we couldn't have ours there.
Yeah, we weren't very wild.
Okay.
Well, maybe some were, but.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next up, you have adopt two separate resolutions, so let's deal with one at a time.
Yep. Looking for you to adopt resolutions related to grant applications through the Transportation Alternatives Program for Phase 1 of the Crow River Regional Trail, which is actually CASA 17, the trail that currently exists there. We're looking at getting that section paved. That'd be a 2023 funding if accepted. The first resolution is a sponsor agency resolution. Basically, you're sponsoring the grant that we're writing.
Okay, and
In January.
Mark, before we go on this, we'll have to redo the resolution that's before us. Commissioner Vetch needs to be added.
Oh, yes, I see that. All of them say Swatsky.
Either that or we gotta.
That's my copy and paste. I forgot about you,
Yeah.
Eric. I'm
And
sorry.
I'm just not feeling the love.
Yeah, and you've been here almost a full year.
full year. I know.
Maybe you need to go visit him more often.
I guess.
Be a thorn in the side, and then he'll remember you.
No, I have
Thank you for that, Commissioner
All
Dollar.
But I think we can still probably
We can
work
still
on
go
that.
forward, you just redo that.
We can still pass the resolution and fix that up later. Okay, so Mike, did you introduce that, or?
I'll make a motion to
Oh, okay.
approve the resolution related to grant application for Phase 1.
And Commissioner Swatsky seconds.
Commissioner Vetch seconds. Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none with the exception of that correction, we're, okay, and then this is a roll call vote. You're gonna mess me up now. Commissioner Vetch, you want to start it off?
Aye.
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 Okay. Resolution carries unanimous.
Second resolution would be a resolution agreeing to maintain the facility. This shouldn't be of concern to you since we already maintain the facility. It would just be pavement rather than aggregate surface.
Mr. Chair.
And yes, Commissioner Swatsky, you're still on there.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to support the resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Lyden. Further discussion on that resolution? Seeing none, Commissioner Potter, would you like to start off?
Aye.
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 I'll go change my resolution template.
Can we make a resolution and have a Commissioner Vetch as part of the resolution team?
Sure.
Not until he gets his name on.
Thank you.
Recognize him as the chair.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
That'll probably happen, Mr. Chair, when my mail stops coming in Pat Swatsky's name,
Yeah,
too.
I know. I still get other commissioners' mail also.
We are spot on, 10:20.
All right.
Virgil Hawkins, our highway engineer. Good morning, Virgil.
Good morning, Chairman Burrell and Board of Commissioners. Today I have 3 items for your consideration. The first of which is to authorize highway engineer and assistant highway engineer to attend the NACE annual meeting and technical conference in Wisconsin this April. And board approval of this is required. It's a budgeted expense, but because it involves out-of-state travel, it's required to bring to the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize attendance for the
I'll
county
second that, but I think they should have to bring back water slide pictures of both of them, right? Since they're going to Wisconsin Dells.
I'll make a note of that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch.
And I would suggest that you don't tell Virgil to do it, you tell Chad to take pictures of Virgil
There you go. There you
in the
go.
evenings as he's going down the slides.
There you go.
I won't make a note of that.
Okay, and is this a resolution, Virgil?
No.
Okay, just a motion.
out of
All right,
travel.
further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. Next up is a Transportation Committee of the Whole.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to set a transportation committee of the whole to discuss some transportation issues, and I have some suggested times, but I would also like to add a fourth item to discuss. It would be major equipment budget update.
And major equipment, you're talking trucks or something bigger than a truck?
Well, it's just an update on where we're at with the budget. Brian Jans approached me and would like to talk about it, and with all the
right.
purchases we've made.
And then Virgil, and I think you're aware of it, but we did have some constituents come in last board meeting and talk about County Road 18, the improvements in that intersection.
Yes, I did hear word of that.
You did, okay. Is that something that would, we could talk about? Because I think there's some confusion too, because there was talk like it might have been up to 3 acres of their land, and now the last I'm hearing
Oh,
it's just.
that's exactly what, and that's item 2 on the agenda, construction project updates and.
Oh, so you're gonna talk about that yet today then?
No, this is for the
At that committee?
transportation.
Because now I heard it's just like 2 or 3/10 of an acre.
Exactly, yeah, and what we do is, part of our public engagement process, which we go through on all our projects, we get stakeholder input, like we did our public meeting for 18 and 38. And based on that, just this last Thursday, we had a project management team meeting. We went through all the public input we received by email, by phone, by office visit at the public meeting. And we did make a lot of changes to the plan that was presented at the public meeting for 18, and the footprint did shrink. So there are some properties that the impacts are much less.
What is that? Okay. All right, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that, so. All right, I guess we'll entertain a motion for that.
Next Wednesday?
What date?
Need a date, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure next Wednesday would be good, 'cause somebody won't be able to make it.
Yeah, I won't be here, but,
What,
you know what, I mean, the show has to go on, though, you can't just,
so what did you say, Commissioner Delighten?
he thought maybe next Wednesday.
Well, Commissioner Potter said next Wednesday, but I said Commissioner Burrell wouldn't be able to make it.
You know what, though, I think I'm okay with you guys, if that works for you, I'm
What
okay.
time are you thinking on Wednesday? I have radio in the morning, so the morning's kind of,
It's pretty open for us at Highway, whatever works for the commissioners.
You got safe schools and.
I got safe schools in Annandale, so, yeah,
What
I have
time
a
is that?
conflict the same time, 10 to 11.
Okay,
and
so we did it like at 1 o'clock?
Do
Well,
that.
the only thing is there, Chris, I forgot to ask you, but I have Emergency Services Board at 1 at St. Cloud, if you can make that. Otherwise, we might just miss it. I've missed it before. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
9 or 1, which time? For 20th would work better.
I don't think that we'd be done by 9:30, so.
Correct,
At
so 1
9.
o'clock would be better?
Well, and then Derek has the radio, though.
Right, he's got radio.
Yeah, he's
10
got
to
radio in the
15.
morning, so 1 o'clock would be better.
I can do 1 o'clock on the 20th.
Yep.
Because Thursdays, I can't do Thursday, I'll be in Glencoe.
Okay.
On Thursday, so.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a committee of the whole to discuss transportation issues for Wednesday, December 20th at 1 o'clock.
I'll second it.
And it will be at the...
The Highway Department.
At the Highway Building.
Okay, motion by
At Virgil's
Commissioner...
Village, let's get. that
Motion
right.
by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighten. Okay, Commissioner Delighten. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Next up, Virgil.
Okay, thank you. The last item this morning, to approve resolution of final acceptance for the Highway 39 left turn lane project at Nashua Avenue in Otsego. Project was completed at a final cost of $66,600. $16.69, and to authorize final payment in the amount of $3,386.33.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hewson, second by Commissioner Potter, and this is a resolution.
Yep.
And we are going to start with Commissioner Hewson.
Any discussion or? No discussion?
Oh, discussion, sorry.
I don't have anything, but.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I do have something.
You just wanted to make me look bad. Thanks, Chris.
Mr. Chair.
All right, further discussion on
Mr.
that?
Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for making Commissioner Hewson look good.
Yeah, well, it doesn't need my help there. I have been involved in this project, and I've taken phone calls from people, and I went out there when it was first done, and the first layer, and second layer, and the finished product, and all that. And because of the nature of some of the house being close, it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was, and the final product looks fantastic out there, and I've talked to the same people that called me before. They are really happy with the final product that's out there, and these are the kind of projects that don't take a lot of money and add a lot of safety and value to a very busy county road. In fact, is it the busiest county road we have?
Yeah, 39 is one of the busiest highways traffic volume-wise, and this was a safety project this year, and it goes along with last year. We did projects along 39, also on Odine Avenue, and another intersection, providing left turn lanes, dedicated left turn lanes. There was a lot of rear-end crashes out there, and these do help improve the intersection safety.
You do, yeah.
Good project.
What is the traffic count on 39? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Well, the latest one I recall, right near 101, in that area, is about 14,000 cars a day.
Yeah, that's.
Right around where 19 comes in, I think it's about 8,000 or 9,000 cars a day.
Okay.
Okay, this is a resolution. Further discussion first. Seeing none, Commissioner Hewson.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you,
Mr. Chair, I
Virgil.
might also want to note that on this resolution that Commissioner Vetch's name was on there. So
Don't use the parks template for anything.
You're back in the club?
Thank you, Board.
Yeah, thanks, Virgil.
Like the mess.
10:25. Alicia O'Hare from Water Resource Specialist. So our water.
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
Good morning,
Board.
Alicia.
So I am here for our county water plan. Just to recap what's going on here, our county water plan was went through a full revision in 2005. And then in 2015, we got the extension through the end of this year. And we're extending it again because of one watershed, one plan, as that churns through the counties and the watersheds. So what's happening is we have the North Fork Crow, which is the area of the county. It's about 2/3 of the county that's going into one watershed, one plan next year. That area for this update will follow its draft until it becomes final in 2018. We will also incorporate that whole plan across the entire county to see how effective it is. And in addition to that, in the remaining parts of the county, the northern third of the Mississippi St. Cloud and the South Fork, which is in the south and the west, that we have identified some additional items that we would want to consider. So that's the implementation program portion of this update. And then the executive summary was updated primarily just to updated the populations, a little bit about the areas, because the North Fork is essentially not in the plan, besides the fact to say that the North Fork, one watershed, one plan will take over. So those are the current updates. If you have any additions or questions to the implementation program, that's what I would love to hear about from you.
And I think we did this last year, if I remember right. We were kind of anticipating the one watershed, one plan moving a little faster than it has been, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In page 2, the draft of the revisions of the populations,
Yes.
there's a few glaring errors in there.
Oh, okay.
First off, our population as of now is 131,000.
Okay, is that,
In 2020 being 126. Another one that I am fairly aware of is that 2030 rolls around, the population of the city of Albertville has no chance of being 8,700 people because there's not enough land there to become that big.
okay,
83 to 85 is the most it could be, and that's even if, 85 would be if they changed some land use plans to allow more housing, but the current plan, it's 8,300 would be the most it would have in there.
okay,
But the changes for the overall Wright County population need to reflect this, that it's currently higher than, granted, this table was made in 2004 with the demographer's office, but we need to update these changes because they might affect everything else in here.
okay. I would love to hear any suggestions you have, Mr. Commissioner, because I looked in the demographer's office to see if I could find updated numbers for the 2020, 2025, and 2030, and I couldn't find it. I wasn't sure if they just took the study down because it was done in 2004. And so, I mean, this was what those three numbers are what was in the 2004. I did update the 2010 and 2015 numbers in here, but perhaps I made a typo and I can be sure to go back and check those. But yeah, I'll absolutely do
I
that.
appreciate that because the reality is we're at 131 right now.
Sure.
You know, and that's, demographer's office should have this information. If they fail to update that, that doesn't mean that
Yeah.
we can slide on that one. We need to make sure good information gets good results. And I just want to make sure that if it's based on any other criteria, we got to have good information, get it in there, more accurate information.
Sure. I'll be sure. I think they might have some projections for the county as a whole, but the part of the portion that I didn't see was where they break it down by the townships
I
and the
will
cities.
attempt to find that because when we've had demographer's office out here with the Health and Human Service and different aspects of the Economic Development Partnership, Wright County, they've had projections kind of by 2040 will be anywhere from 175,000 to 200,000 people in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And they've, in fact, with our master space study, with everything else, they've had some projection that were updated that were higher than this one. I just want to make sure we get good information.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be sure to check that out. Thank you for noting that, Mr. Commissioner.
And Mr. Chair, we have had updated population from, I don't know if it came from the demographers or who we got it from.
Yeah, they send us an update every year.
Yeah. So,
And I know Bob's office has.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you talk with Bob Hevel up and his office or staff up there, they should be able to get you.
Can tell you what our.
See, I can't remember her name from the state demographer's office that came out and has made a couple presentations already.
Susan.
And those numbers are different than this.
I'll be sure to do that.
Otherwise, those two young ladies sitting back there, you know, they should.
They run the office.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vetch.
Okay, an actual question regarding the lakes and the rivers on the plan here. I just, question was looking at the number of the bodies of water there that you've listed are dealing with mercury and fish tissues, and I just seen that we don't have any kind of target start or completion date. Is that the fact that we don't have any kind of treatment plan that we are addressing these items, so we're just kind of being vigilant and seeing if the levels are holding steady, or?
I believe that that's my understanding. That's, for the most part, the PCA's territory. This table is from them. Yeah, I believe that that's the case, that it's a observation that they see and a concern, but it's not necessarily anything we can do about because it occurs naturally. So it's out there as a public health issue to alert people.
It's just interesting. If you look over the years, every couple of years, there's another lake that gets on this list. Because it looks at the start date, with some of them going back to '98, and then you look in 2004. There's a few more that every 2-4 years, more lakes get added on this list. I just wanted to point that out. So.
Sure, and there is a suspicion that there are more lakes that this is a issue for, but they just haven't been assessed for the mercury. And it takes the time and money to actually assess the lakes, so.
But they're not at a level where actual consumption is dangerous. It's just mostly, I mean, that they're listed on here, these number of these lakes. I mean, they're not putting the DNR handbook saying, hey, don't eat fish from this lake. It's not at that level yet.
It could be that they're just not assessed, but for the most part, fish consumption and moderation, shouldn't be a problem.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Houston first. Okay.
Hi, Alicia. Just a clarification on page 4 of the draft. It says, under purpose, number 5, it says the plan must cover a 5-year period. Is that like from, it says 2005 to 2022? Would that be like 2005 to 2010, 2010 to 2015, 2015 to 2022? Was it comprehensive or was it typo?
It's a minimum, is what it is. And I actually asked the Board of Water and Soil Resources about that too. It is a little bit confusing, but he said that it's a minimum of a 5-year period.
Okay.
So since we start, this plan technically applies from 2005 and then was extended.
Got it.
This many times until 2022.
All right, I was just a little confused.
Sure.
Thanks.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And back to the reference with Commissioner Vetch's deal, the mercury in some of the lakes here, I mean, I know Waverly's has some naturally emitting mercury in the lakes, and it's usually only found in the older fish, not the younger ones that have to be there so long. And there was a few lakes, and only they've been discovered as people have been taking really big fish out of those lakes and seeing that, and they haven't figured out whether it's from an old rock formation or what it is that's the link between all these ones. But it's only happening in the bigger, older fish in certain lakes, but not all the lakes in this. Like it's not happening in Howard Lake at all because it's a different geological structure than like Waverly and a few other lakes are. So that's just so you got a little background on that one, because that's been discussed a while before, and I know they haven't spent the time and energy to chase down the exact cause of that, because I think it'd be very expensive to find that. But it's only happening in the really big, older fish in the lakes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. All right, so in further discussion, otherwise we can entertain a motion for the resolution.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston to approve the resolution. And I will start off, say aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you,
resolution
Board.
carries.
Thank you.
Oh, Alicia, you have that voice. You could have a class out in the wilderness and you wouldn't even need a microphone. Yeah, every time you come, I could see you working in the national park somewhere, talking to somebody 50 feet back without the microphone,
Okay. We'll try not to blow your ears out next time I come here.
A good
Trying
strong
to say in an eloquent way is that you've got a great.
That's a compliment. You really project. She was probably in drama in high school, I'm going to bet.
You're trying
No. And thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the money available yet. We're trying.
Okay.
Well, if you can get some good grants on it.
Next up, our county coordinator, Lee Kelly, with adopt a resolution establishing Wright County 2018 certified budget. Can you talk to that, Lee?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I certainly can. As you know, this is kind of the culmination of many hours of work through our budget process. We did hold our required meeting in the evenings, formerly known as Truth and Taxation, and received some public comment relative to this budget. Commissioners, what's presented to you here today is the exact same levy as was presented in September when we adopted the preliminary. So I would entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighten. Discussion. Seeing none, is this a resolution, Lee?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we'll have Commissioner Delighten start that off. Aye.
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 Aye. Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you all, and thank everybody for the hard work on that, too. We are done with committee minutes, and we're on to a resolution with the elected officials, so we have the auditor treasurer's salary up first.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution setting the auditor treasurer's salary for 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Lee, these are all resolutions too, right?
Correct.
Yep.
That is correct.
Okay. Derek, could you start this off?
Aye.
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 Aye. I wonder if that's why the auditor's office people are here, just to make sure that this passed for him. So they can
She has
text
email
him and
on.
let him know
She
right
has
away.
Bob on same time right now. And,
We're Skyping.
Okay. Next up is a
Mr.
resolution.
Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution setting the sheriff's salary for 2018. That's the typo on that thing. It says 2017, which should say 2018.
Where's the typo?
It says 2017.
Oh, but on the resolution.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
Yep, you're right.
yeah, it says 2017 there.
Just a typo on the agenda.
oh, on the agenda, got it, not on the resolution.
Not on the
That's fine.
resolution.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, and
I'll
who's?
second that.
Second by Commissioner Houston as well. Mike, would you start it off?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mark?
Aye, but next time, would you ask for questions before we do it?
Sure. Sorry. Did you have?
Yes, I do.
Oh, go ahead, do that. We'll hold on.
Well, I see that he's got the date here of November 17th. Is that when we met, and that's why that's the date that's on here? On the very bottom, witness my hand, official seal at Buffalo, this 12th day of November 2017.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're using an old template, so it should be read for today's date.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I want to say.
The 12th day of December.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so you're using the same one that,
So all these will be modified to say the December 12th.
Correct.
Okay, so
so we can't blame just Mark using old templates. Other people
No.
are too, but at least your name is on this one.
good point. You voted aye, though?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Derek? I got here.
Said aye.
Aye.
Oh, you did, okay, I was coughing at the same time. Okay. Next up, salary
Chair, I'll
for-
make a motion to adopt a resolution for the county attorney's salary for 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Lyden, second by Commissioner Vetch. Commissioner Houston, can you start off?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, so you know what? Is there further discussion before we come?
As long as the date gets changed.
Okay, you all right? Okay, Commissioner Houston voted aye. I vote aye.
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 Okay, resolution carries unanimous. And then resolution for the board salary for 2018.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution for the county board salary for 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Fetch. Discussion? Seeing none, we start off with me. I'll say aye.
No.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries 4-1. Commissioner Delighten dissenting. Resolution appointing the medical examiner for 2018.
I'll make a motion to accept Dr. Quinn Strobel, the medical examiner for 2018.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Delighten. Further discussion? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote. Commissioner Delighten?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, next up, County Board meeting 12/26. Now,
Revisiting the issue, Mr. Chair, I know we had some discussion in previous meetings if we should have this meeting or not. It is currently and has historically been listed as a claims-only meeting. As of right now, and some discussion I've had with department heads, I am not aware of any items that are coming forward. So I guess I'm just bringing it up if the board wants to discuss it again or leave it as scheduled for the 26th.
Can we cancel it next week?
We could.
Or is that too late? I wasn't sure about.
We could cancel it. That would provide sufficient notice.
That would give us a little
That would
better
give us-
idea.
Right.
I don't want to have a meeting for no reason. Doesn't make any sense.
And historically,
People time.
it was primarily to do just the claims. Now that we've changed the claims
We've done some
process.
things that
well, and then
changed, more streamlined.
wasn't the official newspaper taken care of then too, or
Yep,
something?
that will be resolved outside of that meeting and presented in January to adopt the findings. So I just brought it back as it would save some time for staff if the board felt there was not a need to
The
have it.
chances are we will not have it, probably.
I just wonder if we hold off another week, is it still gonna give the staff indication time that if we draw the line in the sand now, they'll know that anything they need to get done as far as business needs to be done by the 19th, whereas we still kind of leave it lofty up in the air if we hold off another week.
Sure.
Mr.
Oh, I
Chair,
would think that-
Yes, Commissioner Houston.
would it be appropriate then if something major comes before us that we would have the meeting on the 26th instead? I mean, if we cancel it, could we put it back on?
We'd have to adhere to the 3-day notice posting, so we would have to know, our meeting on the 19th will be our next meeting. If there was to be something for that 26th meeting, we would have to know by the latest, probably Thursday.
Yep.
If there was an item requiring a meeting.
We can wait.
I'd say let's wait till Monday or
If you want to
Tuesday
wait till
next
next
week.
week, I mean, I'm fine
Cancel.
with that too. We keep bringing it up for through time.
No, I just, yeah, I agree. There's no reason to have a meeting for, just to have a meeting.
Okay, so you'll deal with it next week?
Yeah.
We can lay it over till
And just
next
let me
week,
know.
and I'll provide an
Maybe
update.
text me, maybe.
Text me.
Yeah, text.
Okay. Then cancellation of a board meeting in January. We have 5 Tuesdays in January.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Again, a reminder, we do have to meet the first Tuesday of the month by statute for our organizational meeting. Looking at different dates, we do have the holiday in the middle of the month.
After the first Monday.
That may be an attractive option.
For some reason, Lee, I already have this January 16th, I have no board. We must have
We
talked
had
about it.
discussed that earlier.
But we probably didn't vote on it yet.
Correct.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion then to cancel the board meeting for January 16th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten. Everyone's else still looking at their calendars.
That's, we're gonna go for it, 16th is fine.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Motion second by Commissioner Husum. If somebody had a different date or whatever, we'd...
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so this is January 16th, then we'll have cancel that board meeting.
I was just thinking if you were gonna do one that was, you're gonna try and choose one that wasn't a health and human, that's a non-health and human service one, right? No, that is a health and human service one, because we have the, 8th
No,
and
it's not.
22nd. You're right, that's
No,
the right
it's
one.
not.
Would be
Okay.
off.
Yep, it's right,
Would be
Yep.
off. That Monday would be the holiday, and then
Yep.
it is off week for Health and Human Services anyway, so
Yep.
it'll be
Perfect.
fine.
So it'd fit into your criteria anyway.
Yep, I was looking at my schedule wrong, because that January 1st being a holiday threw me off on my calendar.
Got it. Okay, further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. Alrighty, advisory committee, advisory board updates. Anyone want to start that off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Pond.
Start off is that the, last Friday I attended a safe school meeting in STMA, the school district, and just like mirroring AMC's thing, mental health issues have definitely rose to the top. The challenges were not only with the social workers in the schools and the sheriff's department, everything else, you get that. So that's kind of mirrors what all 87 counties are basically saying. We have mental health issues to deal with. Hopefully we can press our legislators into actually doing something about it this time, so just we'll talk about it, but not create a plan of action. Second thing is anybody who wants to go out and take a look, we have replaced the retaining wall at the Health and Human Service Provider Building. So go out and take a look at it. Hopefully it's finished. It was supposed to be finished a week ago Saturday, but I heard there was a little bit of touch-up left, but it does look nice. It meets all the engineering standards and criteria that is required. I mean, I've been instructed 3 years ago, Steve Job, to monitor it because I noticed it was moving, and it was to the point where it had to get done. And I thank Alan Wilczek and them for going out there and dealing with this. The next item is, yesterday I was at a Transportation Alliance meeting. Mr. Chair, the boards.
Just to go off of what you did, or what got done behind the Human Services building, you know, it's good that it's nice looking, but the whole idea was that now it's safer. We don't have any issues.
It meets engineering criteria where the old one did not, and we do not need that hill sloughing into that building. No. We don't, and it would not have lasted another year. It just, when they started taking it down, it felt like dominoes. It just, the whole wall just came down. It's like, whoops. So that's there. Next thing is Transportation Alliance. I had a meeting yesterday of that's part of, we're members of that Transportation Alliance. I go out to DC fly-in the last 3 years on that, and I've been appointed to the board starting as of the first of the year to that and the board of directors, which is I look forward to help push more transportation issues in our state. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Potter.
I was at the Buffalo Safe Schools meeting, and just something that was, we got a couple of handouts, and they are doing more and more participation in the college credits during high school. And essentially, 2016, 2017, students earned more than 6,100 college credits, saving families nearly $1.8 million. And they're really encouraging kids now to meet with counselors early on so they can kind of look at their career paths and look into doing these college credits when they're in high school. I mean, it's just amazing how much that they're looking at. I mean, close to $2 million is huge. I was at the legislative breakfast for the Workforce Center last Friday, and we had some just really wonderful speakers, the people that have been helped through the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, and you know, without going into all the stories, I'll put this on the back table so you can kind of read about some of the success stories, but there's displaced workers, there's people that have had, you know, challenges because of a disability or whatever, and just some great stories that we heard, and also had a chance to talk to our legislators and some of the challenges. I mean, money that they may appropriate for different services then are taken by agencies and dispersed in a way that the legislators weren't even necessarily aware of. So there's some definite challenges for that.
How many legislators were there?
We had Senator Anderson, Representative McDonald, Representative O'Neill, Brian Johnson from Isanti, Representative. We had Stacy from Representative Tom Emmer's office, and I don't remember if there was one more.
So there wasn't a whole lot for the whole area that,
I mean,
that covers.
Wright County was very well represented.
Was
so,
represented,
yeah.
but the rest of them weren't. Yeah.
Correct. So I was happy that our legislators were there. And we had our, yeah, well, at least 3 of them. We had our Midwest Regional Forensic Lab meeting on November 28th, and I also will put this back on the table, but there was kind of a new precedented, I guess, court case in a homicide investigation, and some of the new DNA testing that they've got using some new DNA software. So we're just really on the cutting edge with our forensic lab, and I'm really pleased with everything they're doing. And we're also talking about getting one of the DNA scientists in to sort of explain some of this stuff to us, because you know they start talking words that I'm not familiar with, and so I think for us to have a presentation by a scientist would be just really a great idea. But so anyway, and we already talked about the resolution. So, Mr. Chair, I think that is all I have.
Okay, and Commissioner Hewson, for the lab, could you, I'm just thinking about one other thing. When we do when we do outside work, we either have to have it built into the cost, because a lot of times they might have to testify in court, or would they say, we'll do the test for this much, if we have to testify in court, it's so much an hour?
Right, and that's all things that they're really looking into.
They really need to look at that, right?
Yeah. And
because we should.
They've got some idea of what it costs, and we did have the discussion about if they get called in to
But
testify.
they,
and that
I think it would be, the test is so much, and if it gets called to court, it's so much
So
an
much,
hour.
yeah.
That way, because you could have one trial might be, you might testify one time, one you might be called in there
Right.
for rebuttal many times.
Right,
so.
yep, so.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Comment on Commissioner Hewsom's, on the Minnesota job training, that comprehensive look, that is something I believe every city in this county should have, because as they're trying to do their land use plan and looking at jobs, this particular is chock full of information, good
It is.
information. I think every city should have one here to help them with their economic development.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I agree.
We got a lot of information at our meeting on Friday.
Oh, that's a lot of.
After our legislative breakfast, we had our joint powers meeting. And then we went in for the audit. Oh, we got a clean audit, so that's, they just are amazed, I guess, at how thorough of a job they do with their record keeping and things, and so, yeah.
Okay. And I was down to the Howard Lake Waverly Winston Safe Schools meeting. We don't have any problem with mental health in our district, so.
Oh, that's good.
Because of the rural lifestyle. You said that, I laugh, Mike, because it's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah.
Every time there's a safe school meeting, it's mental health issues.
It is, it's
so,
mental health
yeah,
issues.
that's,
Yep.
I'm being sarcastic.
No, that's fine.
You don't even need to put that in there, Susan. Okay, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was at the Rogers Safe Schools, and same issue.
Yep.
Mental health. And the problem is they can't get staff, and then when there's an emergency, there's no place for the kids to go.
And beds are very expensive, like $1,500, so it's a growing here.
Commissioner Burrell, there's some money-making opportunities for you.
There you go.
It's a bed, that big house of yours.
Okay.
Other than that, well, for the interest of time.
Commissioner Vetch, don't tell us about WCAT, we heard enough.
No, you already know that I've attended plenty of WCAT and Trailblazer meetings. We had Bertram, we just authorized the purchase of acoustical outfitting for the chalet out there for roughly to the cost of about $3,900. The pool at Bertram will be opening up on June 16th of this year with some more opportunity hours with YMCA. They're going to try and have a little bit more expanded hours. Discuss the proposal for request for the future campground at Bertram. This is the beginning process for addressing grants for this campground project, which is on the CIP for 2021 or 2020-2021, roughly. Also on Thursday last week, I had the Emergency Management and Public Health Work Group. We discussed the JRA, Joint Regional Assessment for Public Health, which will take place in March of 2018, and also discussed it needing to get the word out about Everbridge and getting people to sign up for those warnings. I don't know.
Yeah.
You call them warnings.
Alerts.
Alerts, there you go.
Yeah,
That's the right word I'm looking for. But that's that, and my WCAT and Trailblazer is still my schedule.
Yes, it sure has.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I should have brought it up earlier, but actually, for the Transportation Committee of the Whole, we should have a discussion put in there regarding Briarwood out by Bertram Lake. I'd like to have that discussion.
If we do that, I'd like to have, we should invite somebody from the city.
Well,
They have plans on their side of it as well.
Yeah, but yeah, that's fine.
Just,
But I just think it should get put on there if you pass that info on.
Yeah, I'll send that over to Virgil.
Thank you.
Okay, and before we adjourn, I say we do have some people here, but I think it would be best if it was the same issue, you know, the meeting next Wednesday would be a perfect opportunity. It's in a small little room, not small room anymore, I guess, but small group, and you'd be able to get some concerns made, so.
It's not quite the same issue.
Okay, well, if you had something.
It's related.
Okay, if you had something just real briefly, sure.
I'll be brief.
Sure. Well, I say we try to be as accommodating as we can here, so. And just your name again for the record. So.
Darlene House, 4742 McIver Avenue, Northeast St. Michael, 55376. So first of all, I wanted to thank Commissioner Vetch for taking the time to respond to me yesterday by phone. We spent a good 45 minutes at least. I really appreciated that. You were the only one that responded. Mr. Burrell, I sent you several emails. I left several messages. I know you guys are all really busy. And I'm here again to remind you that whatever you do within your existing right-of-way is totally fine. That is the only option regarding my land.
Okay. And again, that would be something to...
And that is, and I will bring that up, but I'm saying this now in the hand of friendship and diplomacy and goodwill, and giving the county commissioners the opportunity to step up to the plate and uphold the spirit and the intent of the Ag Preserve laws that you signed up for as a county when it was first introduced to the Collier County areas.
Okay.
And I would suggest that because the county has been the beneficiary of the Ag Preserve dollars, that it's a small amount, granted, but for every Ag Preserve farm in the county, you guys get $1.50 an acre back from the Commissioner of Revenue that goes to the counties as a reimbursement, because farms by their very nature save cities and townships and counties money because they don't require expensive infrastructure. And just from a personal point of view, none of us can afford to lose 1 acre or less even of good farmland. I'm 62. I'm on the youngest end of the farmers in Wright County. I signed up for this in good faith. I've held my end of the bargain up. I asked the county commissioners to do the same and to direct your staff at Wright County Department of Highways to follow that lead. Thank you. And I will be at that meeting. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Okay. And...
Chair, if I just make one quick
statement. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I did address some of the questions that you asked yesterday, and I was assured by the Highway Department that they will have a price cost of an alternative plan to present to you and any other interested parties regarding if an alternative option to not taking your property, so at least can see what the cost comparable would be of not taking that land and going alternative routes. So that should be able to be presented to you sometime between now and the beginning of 2018.
Well, I would once again remind you guys that you got a new study coming out, and that's coming out in January, and that since this issue has come up several times through other topics today, a lot of these studies were done in 2004. That data is useless. We all know it.
Well, that data is going to tell, the new data is going to tell us that it's even worse than what it was in 2000.
Well, it may or it may not.
Correct.
But I'm encouraging you, since they're willing to reduce the footprint, the number you gave me is the same number that Mr. Burrell gave me 2 weeks ago, approximately 0.8 of an acre. That hasn't changed. And I've got a lot of questions. I'll send you some bullet-pointed questions, and I will stay persistent, gentlemen, and misuse them. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. And with that, we do have a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for 11 o'clock. It looks like it's going to be, we'll probably take a short break and go into that. But being as how this might be my last meeting as board chair, I just wanted to take this opportunity because I will miss next weekend because of a medical procedure. But I want to thank Lee and thank Susan for being so good to me during the last year, just helping me out and showing me the ropes. And I also want to thank all the other commissioners for being very, very good to me and helping me again. So Chris is keeping track of my new words I invented and different things. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say thank you all. And then before we go, though, it's also going to be Ed Du Bois' last meeting here as covering for the newspaper. And Ed, if you would want to come up here for a second, because we've had an oversight here at the county. It seems for the last 34 years, you've sat over there and occupied that space, and we have not sent a bill to your paper. So we have here at $4 a square foot, $16.50 per square foot. Anyway, it came to $102,960. So if you want to just pass that on to the editors over there.
Payable upon retirement. So if you don't retire, the bill sits out there.
But no, that's a joke, Ed. But we've really enjoyed having you here, and I think we've just been blessed to have you. Like I said, you you do such a great job covering it. I read the articles in the paper, and you do a great job covering the
We'll
board.
miss you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the one that you said that you were going to be retiring in the paper. It was kind of short notice, I thought.
I think he was, he didn't want to.
Should we get a picture before we go?
Should.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that.
My phone on.
34 years, you deserve it. I always got a kick out of Commissioner Sawatsky said nobody is here.
My phone's upstairs. I didn't know if.
I think this is your first job.
Have one? Alan's got it.
Not bad, it's only 8 after 11.
Okay, we will adjourn then at 11:06, and we'll start our committee of the whole for the space study at 11:15.